Hey everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Are You the One? How to Convince Leads You're the Best Fit. We're really excited to have you guys join us today. My name's Callie, and I'm just here to get things started before I pass it off to our two experts. I want to get some of the logistics out of the way. So following our presentation, you will receive an email with today's recording and slides. So don't feel like you have to ferociously take any notes. You can go back and reference this at a later date so that you can really enjoy today. And we will also have time for Q&A following the presentation, so be sure to submit your questions throughout the webinar, and we promise to get to as many as possible. Now it is my honor to introduce our presenters today. First up, we have Erin from the WordStream team. She is our PPC evangelist here in Boston. She's had 5 years of paid search experience. I think she was probably one of the original crew members of WordStream. She's been here for a good portion of her life. A good portion of my adult life, that's correct. She was recently named number 4 on most influential PPC expert of 2016, and she's very active on Twitter, so definitely check her out at Erin Sagan to keep up with all things digital marketing related. You'll definitely be thoroughly entertained and leave with a lot of key takeaways. So I'll pass it over to you, Erin, to introduce our guest speaker.
Yeah, thank you so much. So before I introduce Andrea, let me give you a quick overview of what WordStream is. Right, so just so we can get started today, and you guys kind of have a baseline for what we do. So like Kelly said, WordStream is based in Boston. We're a PPC marketing company that helps people manage their AdWords ads, Bing ads, and Facebook ads. So I know that all of those things can be daunting and time-consuming, especially if you're responsible for all marketing at your company, or if you are the owner of the company who's just kind of trying to scrape by doing your own marketing, or if you're new to marketing. So the way that WordStream works is we help you manage all of those accounts through an all-in-one software platform, and we boil all of your work down to 20 minutes per week. So what we're going to do is analyze your account and every week give you a prescriptive formula to follow with a series of recommendations on how to improve and optimize your accounts to save money and get more leads. So that's what we're all about here. We are really excited to be working with Signpost. They have an awesome product as well. So Andrea comes from Signpost. She's the VP of marketing there. Obviously tons and tons of experience in marketing, both in the B2C and B2B space. And as you can see here, she's a big fan of the University of Michigan. I am as well. Go Blue. And you can find her on Twitter as well. So Andrea, I'll kind of pass it over to you so you can give everybody an overview of Signpost.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy to hear you're also a Michigan fan, Erin, and thanks for having me. We, too, are very excited to partner with WordStream. To give some context there, we think this is a great partnership because as WordStream is managing the PPC and the acquisition phase of your business, Signpost is an AI-driven CRM, so we manage the retention efforts for your business. It's particularly a painful process for businesses with consumers and businesses with consumers that actually have a local presence. So that's kind of what we'll talk about today in the webinar. So without further ado, Erin, I'll kind of let you get to it.
Perfect. So I'll preface it before I get started. If you guys do have any questions, we have plenty of time saved at the end of the webinar that you'll be able to use to ask questions. So submit any and all questions as we go through here, and we'll try and hit as many as we can at the end of the webinar. You can also hit me up on Twitter, and I'm sure Andrea feels the same way. I am like a Twitter fiend. I check it like far too often, and am happy to answer any questions. So if there's anything specific to your business or your account that you want to ask me or Andrea, just tweet at us. All right, so let's get started. So we're going to be talking today about finding the one. And I'm going to start off with a little story about some very important people to me. So this is my dad, and this is my mom. Aren't they adorable? I love them. And when they first got together, my dad was totally smitten with my mom. He had the biggest crush on her, totally in love the very first day that they met. Unfortunately, my mom didn't reciprocate those feelings at all. She didn't know who he was, and when she figured out who he was, it took her a very long time to kind of warm up to him. She wasn't interested in him. She declined the first couple of dates. Finally, after months and months of kind of relentless pursuit, he finally kind of convinced her to go out with him, and they ended up building a really wonderful, loving relationship. In fact, I'd go as far to say that they're now the epitome of the perfect couple. And I think we can all agree that most true love stories don't start with love at first sight, right? Beauty and the Beast, Belle was not into the Beast on day one. 10 Things I Hate About You. Pride and Prejudice, a classic love story where it took a long time for Elizabeth to come around to Mr. Darcy. And of course, The Notebook. All of these love stories have one thing in common, and that's that, maybe one party was totally in love and the other side has zero interest whatsoever. Eventually, they came together and formed wonderful, loving relationships. And if any of you guys are out there in the dating world, or I'm sure you've experienced the dating world, those of you who have found their way out of it, it's really hard to find the right person. In fact, if Zac Efron is struggling to find the right person, I think we can agree that it's tough for the rest of us to find the right person. It's hard to put yourself out there. It's certainly tough to kind of make it through dating. There's plenty of people you don't want to ever see again. So it's kind of tough to have the strength to continue on, and tough to eventually find that person that clicks with you. And the only thing harder than finding the right person is actually building the perfect relationship. It's not easy. Even if they're the perfect person, there's going to be plenty of hardships that you have to overcome to build a strong, lasting relationship. And so you're probably wondering, why am I here, this single person, giving you guys dating advice and love advice, and what the heck does it have to do with marketing? Well, marketing is a lot like dating, because as marketers, our jobs are to get out there, scout that perfect person, those perfect prospects, and actually convince them to seal the deal, right? Convince them to eventually kind of stick with you and build a strong relationship. So finding and then eventually closing the perfect prospects is very, for better or for worse, very similar to the dating game. So here's our game plan for the day. We're going to stick with this dating theme. We'll start by going through the hunt, how to actually find those ideal prospects. Then, of course, the chase, how to convince those prospects to actually pay attention to you, something that can be, unfortunately, pretty tough at times. The courtship. So once you get those people engaged with you, how do you communicate with them? How do you keep them engaged and keep them moving down the marketing funnel? And then finally, how to keep the spark alive. Once you've made somebody a customer, how do you keep them as a loyal customer? How do you encourage them to continue investing their time and their money with you? And I think if you can nail this dating game, it's truly a recipe for success for your business. You're finding new customers, you're keeping those new customers. And I'm excited. We have, Andrew has a lot of good stuff in store for you. So I'm going to get started to go through phase one, the hunt. So it's really tough to find new prospects when you're working within a pool of people that you already know. I've learned this very well. You don't go back to your high school class to find your future love. If it didn't work out in high school, it's probably that guy is not there. So you have to meet new people. You have to fill that funnel with new people and get out there. And you're not going to find those new people if you refuse to get out and look for them. If you're the kind of person who's staying home every Friday night, you're just not going to meet the one. So if you're not conscious of that funnel, eventually your lead flow will suffer. Now, you might have leads now that you feel really good about, but if you're not consciously getting out there, meeting new people, filling that funnel, eventually it will dry up and your business will suffer greatly. So it's really important as a marketer to constantly be engaging in new endeavors to keep that lead flow healthy. So put yourself out there. How do you get yourself out there? How do you get out and date, if you will? Introduce yourself to brand new prospects using paid ads. First thing that comes to mind is Facebook ads. As you guys, I'm sure, are well aware, our Facebook feeds are rife with ads. And with Facebook, you can even connect with people who don't actively have a Facebook account. So for example, my mom, she doesn't use Facebook, but Facebook still serves ads to her through partner programs. So you really can engage. I mean, Facebook has tons of users, but you can even reach beyond their users with Facebook ads. It's incredibly, incredibly powerful. Why Facebook ads? Why are these online ads more compelling than going the billboard, TV, radio, etc. route? There's a couple different reasons that we can walk through, but I am truly a big believer, especially for those of you guys out there who are smaller businesses, newer businesses, rather than going those old school traditional routes of marketing, online advertising is likely the best place for you to kind of spend, whatever marketing budget you have to work with. First things first, Facebook is awesome because you can use super specific targeting options. When I go back to that billboard, with a billboard, you're targeting anybody who walks, drives, or bikes down the street. You don't know anything about those people except that's the route they happen to take, the location that they happen to be in at the time, but you really can't control who you're showing the ads to. With Facebook ads, they have crazy specific targeting. So you can target by location, language, the basics. And then you can get really crazy and look at their interests, their behavior. I'm only giving you a few examples. I can't even express to you how many options you have. But their education level, their school, their industry, whether they're a mom or a dad or a stepmom or they're married or engaged. You guys get where I'm going here. There are incredibly, incredibly specific targeting opportunities you can use. And they can be both in market or actual affinities that these people have. So this is a pretty amazing feature. And for those of you out there who have super limited budgets, this should be music to your ears. Because the reality is, if you know who you want to hit and you can whittle down that list, then you can really be careful with the money you're spending and ensuring that you're spending it for the right people at the right time. Just don't go overboard. Don't take this too far. So Facebook has this really nifty little kind of adjuster that you can see, and it will tell you what the potential reach is and how much of your audience you can share or you're going to be able to connect with. If you go too specific, too tight, you may not get a lot of ad visibility. So just be careful. Keep an eye on this dial, if you will. But generally speaking, know that you can use a lot of specific targeting to reach exactly the right people when they're at the right time in their life to connect with you. So Facebook's pretty awesome. It's also super cheap right now. It is like, a couple pennies a click, certainly dependent on the industry, but it's way cheaper than most other forms of advertising, and you have a lot of control over that budget. So this is great for those of you guys out there who are just getting your feet wet with online marketing. Another thing you can use is paid search. So the examples I'm showing here are specific to Google, but you can also do paid search on Bing. So keep that in mind, especially for you guys out there who, again, are budget conscious. Bing can be great because it is a little cheaper than Google. But on both of these venues, you can use paid search to connect with people in research mode. I know nothing about renter's insurance, never thought about buying it, never did any research on it. Recently, my old house burned down in an epic fire. And ever since then, I've been in this total panic. I'm obsessed with the idea of buying renter insurance. I'm totally freaked out by it. So I've been doing a lot of research online. And I'm not looking by specific brand names because I don't even know insurance brands that sell insurance. I'm not at that stage of the funnel. I'm just getting out there trying to figure out who the players are in the renter's insurance business. So with paid search, you can bid on terms that are broad, similar to this, indicating that people are kind of in that research mode. They're looking for people like you. They are actively looking for people like you. Show your ads, and again, you're introducing people to you. Now, I'm probably not going to buy renter's insurance the first website I click on. You're going to have to win my trust. You're going to have to build a relationship with me. I'm not just going to go home with you on the first night, right? I want to do my research, understand the different people out there, what they're offering to me. And then you guys, once I've engaged with you, you can start to nurture me into a point where I will make a purchase. But this is a great way to introduce yourself to me. Introduce yourself with paid search. The cool thing about paid search is people are telling you what they want. So especially with these informational searches where people are typing in terms and you can bid on keywords where people are indicating that they're doing research, it doesn't matter who they are. You don't even have to worry about crazy specific ad targeting because they are telling you that they are a good fit for your business. They are telling you what they're interested in. So this is awesome. This is a great way to connect with people who are genuinely qualified, active, ready to be engaged in a search. So when it comes to filling your funnel, getting out there, meeting new people, my favorite ways to do it are Facebook ads, paid search through either Bing or AdWords. And as you can see here, it's all about picking the right keyword. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so what if I put myself out there and nobody actually clicks on my ad? You know, is this really worth doing? If people aren't clicking through, why should I bother? Remember that both of these venues, even if no one's clicking on your ad, you're getting some time with people who are good fits for you. So you're able to engage in some branding. Branding is incredibly, incredibly valuable. You know, when you look at this, right, you look at this grid here, I think you know exactly which companies are represented, even though it's not their true logo in front of you. And that's because they've done a really good job of branding themselves. So think of, you know, if somebody isn't clicking on your ad, but you're still out there, think of it as like this great branding opportunity, similar to a billboard, but you're getting in front of the actual right targeted group of people. So paid search and paid social are incredibly valuable tools for you to use. Once you've introduced yourself to all these great new qualified prospects that you're putting into your funnel, let's talk about the chase. How do you actually get them to engage with you, get to your website, and fingers crossed, fill out your form or buy your product? Don't blow your shot. When you've caught your prospect's eye and they're engaged with you and they're interested in you, make sure that you are putting your best foot forward and actually engaging back with them. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about what I mean. First things first, you have these active searchers online, make sure that you're actually connecting back with them. And you can actually tell from what they're typing in, the intent of those keywords, what exactly they want from you. So earlier I typed in best renters insurance. That was an indication that I was researching. Now I'm typing buy Geico renters insurance online. I've done my research. I've already indicated that I've picked who I want to work with. I know I want renters insurance, and I know I want to buy it online. I'm essentially telling you I have my wallet in my hand, my credit card ready to go. I am active, I am engaged, and I know what I want. We like to think of these as transactional searches, right? People are indicating that they're ready to make a transaction, that they're ready to take action. And these are the types of searches you really want to prioritize your visibility for. And I mean having higher bids for these types of keywords, really pushing the envelope, ensuring that you're getting good visibility so these people get to see you when they're looking for you. There is nothing worse than running into your new crush when you look like crap. I am the first person to tell you this. I have hidden from one too many boys when I haven't looked my best. And there's just nothing worse than like not being able to put your best self forward with someone you really like. The same thing goes for these searchers. So if somebody's searching for you and your ad pops up, you want to give them the most compelling ad copy possible. And a couple ways to be super compelling with your ad copy: connect with readers' emotions. That's huge. We know that by triggering their emotions, they are more likely to read the entirety of your ad and actually take action on it. Emotions inspire action. So try using emotionally engaging ad copy. I love this example. Catch cheating husband. Enter his email address. Man, if your husband's cheating on you, that totally, the idea of catching them and getting them for it is totally appealing. So this is a great way to capture people's attention in ads. Include specific numbers or statistics. This is one of those things that we know works. Having a specific number in your ad copy is engaging with searchers. It's also getting all of your information kind of right out there from the get-go, letting them know what you're all about. Another way, focus on the benefit to the user. No one wants to click on your ad if they don't feel like it's going to be helpful to them. So be really clear about what that unique value proposition is and what you can do for them. And then finally, it never hurts to toss in a countdown. So any sort of urgency that you can use by saying, 4 hours left of our sale, 3 days left of our sale, whatever that is, to kind of push people, to compel them to click and take action. So when somebody searches for you, make sure that your ads are really compelling. Also make sure that they're relevant. I think we've all been in situations where we do a search on Google for something specific. We know exactly what we want. And then we see ads that are totally irrelevant. That's a major bummer. You're not going to click on those ads. You're going to be frustrated, and you're probably not going to follow through. So the more you can do to use tightly knit, highly segmented ad groups and produce ad copy that's super relevant to what people are looking for, the better off you'll be. This is a perfect example, right? If I'm looking for men's leather shoes, size 9, it's very clear that I know what I want, right? I don't want to see women's shoes. I don't want to see suede shoes. And I want size 9. I know what size I am. If you're out of stock in size 9, I don't want to see your ad. So taking the effort to create these really specific ads, this ad is perfect. That both tells me they have what I'm looking for right here. And ideally, they'll send me to a landing page that's super specific as well. But the more specific, the better. That's really a good way to put your best foot forward and connect with the searcher on the other end of the screen. Another thing you should do is utilize ad extensions. I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with ad extensions. They kind of used to be this extracurricular thing that people who were really in the know and great at paid search were doing. Now everybody out there is doing these. And quite frankly, if you're not using ad extensions, you're going to fall behind. When you look at these two ads, which one is more appealing? The first one or the second one? To me, it's definitely the second one. Even though this one is at the top of the page, my eyes are automatically drawn to the second one because it is chock full of information. I have my ratings extension, my call-out extensions, my structured snippets, my site links, the whole 9 yards to make my ad that much more engaging. It's bigger, it takes up more real estate, so my eyes are drawn to it, but it also has more information about what I'm looking for. And the more information you can convey to me in your ad to prove you have what I'm looking for, the more likely I am to click on it and engage with it. So take the time to write good ads, structure your account so that you're serving very relevant ads, and tack on those extensions. The cool thing is extensions are like the easiest thing you can do. You set them up once, you don't have to look at them again for a couple months. So take the time to do it. All right. There we go. Next thing you want to do is make sure that you're protecting yourself against competitors on the SERP. There's nothing worse if your love interest is interested in you and you have that like kind of perfect situation where they're coming to meet you and then all of a sudden one of your competitors swoops in and steals them away. So don't let this happen to you in paid search either. Don't let competitors steal your thunder. So the worst thing in the world is if you're looking for something specific, like this person is actively looking for Kay Jewelers diamonds, and Blue Nile kind of swept them off their feet and beats them to the punch, right? I'm looking for Kay Jewelers, and it's the second ad, not the first ad. This is because Blue Nile is actively bidding on Kay Jewelers, and they probably have a more competitive bid and quality score. So don't let this happen to you. Bid on your branded terms. The cool thing about this is your branded terms tend to be cheap anyway. So it's well worth it to bid on these terms, protect yourself from competitors, and actually ensure that when your prospect is looking for you, you're showing up, putting your best foot forward, and actually capturing their clicks. And then finally, my final warning is your prospect will probably play games with your heart. They probably won't click the first time they see your ad. If they do make it to your landing page, they probably won't buy something or fill out their form from the get-go. We see this all the time. We have this awesome tool called the Grader, and all we ask for is for you to plug in your email address and a little bit of information so we can run a full grade on your account. And it's an awesome report. But for a lot of people, they don't actually follow through the first try. It takes a little cajoling. It takes a little bit of our building their trust, proving that we know what we're doing. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I am ready to run the grader. But they're not necessarily doing it on the first try. So don't give up. If somebody doesn't fill out your form or make a purchase the first time, don't nix them from your list. Those are exactly the people who you should be engaging with. They're qualified, they're interested in you. You just have to spend a little extra time trying to win them over. And that persistence can really go a long way. And one of my favorite ways to kind of be persistent with these prospects is remarketing. So a remarketing campaign is awesome because you take visitors who have already come to your website through organic traffic, direct traffic, paid search, whatever it may be. They've been on your website. They are interested in you, but they may not have taken the action that you want them to take quite yet. They come to your site, but they leave before they fill out your form or make a purchase. So what happens? You can cookie them and then show those specific people your ads across the internet as they're doing other things, as they're reading the news, reading blog posts, at work. Your ads start popping up on the internet, somewhat following them around, if you will. And it's a great way to stay top of mind for these people. And I think a lot of people are hesitant to engage in things like remarketing because they feel as though it's creepy or stalkerish. But the reality is, it works incredibly well. And for it to work, you really have to be aggressive and put yourself out there. So we see that conversion rates actually increase the more times an ad is shown, up to 6 times. So absolutely take advantage of remarketing, use remarketing, and use it to kind of win over your prospects, overcome their objections, let them get comfortable with your brand, and eventually, fingers crossed, they're going to come back, convert, and engage with you. All right, so that takes us to phase 3, which is the courtship. I'm going to pass things over to Andrea so she can walk us through this section.
Awesome, Erin. Thanks so much. I think a lot of what you covered. Can you guys hear me? Just want to be sure.
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay, great. And then just a note too, before I get into this, the people that are listening, we have a very excited sales floor and they occasionally erupt. So if you hear any screaming or cheering, just disregard that and I'll try to keep it moving. But I think a lot of what Erin talked about on some of those really important acquisition strategies are great for new business, especially on a push tactic like Facebook or a pull tactic like search. These are really key for growing your business, except core to Signpost's value proposition is that you make the most out of those customers that you've acquired in the first place. You spent money, and in some cases, just to give some benchmarks, a Facebook lead could be anywhere from maybe $10 to $30 or even lower in some cases. On the PPC side, it could be anywhere from $10 to $40, depending on what you sell. But now you've spent that money to acquire them. Like, what do you do next? So that's really where Signpost kind of gets involved. And Mia in particular, this is basically the automated marketing assistant for local businesses that helps you kind of through this. So I'll continue with the parallel on the relationships that you need to keep with your customers. They're not going to be quite as fun, I think, as Erin's were. But I did want to make sure that, we also talked about like what this means for your bottom line. And Erin, I'm not sure, but did you pass me over presenter rights? I'm not sure that I'm able to advance it.
You should be able to. Yeah, can you move it now? There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Awesome. So, can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, great. So once you've scored some digits, now is really like the time for you to make sure you keep those prospects engaged. Just like a relationship, you can think about this as if you were dating. You don't want to like seem desperate because you're too clingy. Don't email too frequently. Make it about yourself. I don't know if you've ever been on a date where somebody's just talking about themselves the whole time. It's not great, to say the least. But you also want to make sure that the topic is relevant and something that they care about. So establish like a consistent cadence for keeping in touch with them, just like you would want to know that the person is interested. They don't just drop off the face of the planet after the first date. You want to keep relevant one-to-one communication up and keep it relevant. So we unfortunately don't think that there's an age-old playbook for how to do this. It's not like it is in the movies, at least relationships in 2016, but especially not for how to keep customer communication up on a consistent basis. For most local business owners, you're busy. You're taking care of your business, which is why, in particular, someone like Mia or our platform can help you kind of manage the customer relationship without you doing anything. So here are basically the 4 components of the 2016 playbook for how you should be keeping in touch with your customer. So once a lead comes in the top of the funnel, so you're using someone like WordStream to help you on the acquisition side. Here's how you manage the retention. So there's 4 key components of that. Feedback. This is really the most critical part of how you generate the rest, because in both cases, you want to know how that prospect feels about your business so that you can generate reviews, loyalty, and referrals, which are new customers. In particular, Mia does this in 2 ways. She generates feedback, reviews, loyalty, and referrals via email and text. Email is great because it's an age-old channel for communication, and it can get you anywhere from 0 ROI if you're not doing it well, but up to 4,300%, which seems crazy, but it's true. And texts have 8 times the email engagement. And this is often overlooked. Mia actually will send texts out to your prospects to generate some of these things you see over here on the left. But we think that the strategies are important for a few reasons. I'm not sure if you're aware, but 80% of future profits only come from 20% of your customers. This is like Pareto's law. It's a very simple concept to think about, but if you really understand what that means for your revenue, like only 20% of the leads you've acquired are going to account for 80% of your prospects. So why would you not market to them and keep that relationship up? The next bullet I think is interesting because it, again, it relates to your bottom line. But if you just increase your retention rates by 5%, so if out of 100 customers, you increase the retention rate by 5, you can increase your profits from 25 to 95%. New customer converts at 5 to 10%. So in some of the efforts Aaron was talking about earlier, in that case, if they convert at 5 to 10%, that's because they're new and you don't have the same loyal relationship you have with them. They're going to convert at 5 to 10%, but repeat 60 to 70%. So focus some of your efforts there as well. And think about the buying power for repeat customers. They're loyal, they know who you are, they're going to spend 33% more than new customers because a new customer may be just trying to, check out the business and find out more about, the quality of work, service, or retail. But they're going to spend more. So spend more time on them. As it relates to the first component, feedback, feedback and testimonials are key for you, one, understanding your business better, but two, in terms of the kind of testimonials you can have, the social proof you can have for your business. We think adding things like testimonials to your site are important, but it actually can lead to a 34% increase in sales. Mia does this automatically. The minute she gets good feedback from your customers, she automatically publishes them to a page that you can add to your site, which is pretty cool. 70% of customers search for testimonials before making a purchasing decision, and 92% have more confidence in info found online than from a salesperson. So they're doing their own vetting of your business with or without you. So we know feedback is important. And then, sadly, customers are more likely to share bad experiences. So Mia, when you turn the software on, she will find out who your best customers are and who those customers are who have negative experiences about your business, and she segments them automatically for you. So she'll go out and she'll ask your customers, how likely are you to recommend this business? So the good ones she makes advocates of, and the bad ones she makes detractors. So this is great for making sure you only get positive testimonials up on the site. And the same thing with reviews. In 2016, reviews for local businesses are paramount. It's in part what Google uses as a ranking factor for search. And Google launched Local Pack in August of this year, which states that below ads, there are going to be 3 businesses that rank before organic rankings. So to basically pull it back to what Aaron was talking about, paid search, when somebody does a search, is going to be the first thing that comes up. So if you want to show up, you have to be paying for it first. But below that, and some may debate with me on this, but I personally think reviews are more important than your SEO efforts. No one knows in particular what goes into generating, the first ranking organically for websites anymore. So if you're a local business, you need reviews, plain and simple. Anybody who's telling you otherwise is, I don't know that they're leading you in the right direction. So Mia, because she knows who your best customers are, she's going to ask them to automatically post reviews. So the minute she finds out that this customer would recommend your business, she's going to say, great, post it anywhere you choose. So you simply tell Mia when you turn the platform on where you want your reviews to go. I personally would be advocating for Google first, but then if you have a really great social presence on Facebook, you should be pushing it there, especially if you're buying ads on Facebook, because that person is going to go to the Facebook page and be like, wow, great, they have 5-star reviews. This seems like a trustworthy business. And then there are a few stats here. 88% of customers, trust reviews as much as personal recommendations. I do. I don't buy anything without going on the internet and reading through all the reviews. But the fact remains is that most people do. And then HBS, I love this stat because it really puts in perspective what your review ratings mean. An increase in 1-star rating can drive revenue up 5 to 9%. So if you have a 1-star rating, you need to fix that. So you would deploy Mia to make sure that she's fixing your social reputation by basically going out to those prospects and asking for 5-star reviews, but getting in front of anybody who may post a negative review, that's equally as important, getting in front of the negative feedback. And the other thing is when you get that negative feedback, they're going to be telling you why they're not recommending your business. So it's like good intel for your local business to fix issues that you may be having. And then keep the spark alive. You know, this relates to loyalty offers. These are key for your retention efforts. Very simply, like you want to take the people who like your business and you want to make them buying more. You will automatically follow up with your best customers on a cadence and a frequency that is set by her. Mia has data on 20 million plus US consumers. So she's definitely going to have more information on that person than you will as a local business owner. So she knows exactly what to send them and when to send it. So you can rely on her to make the right decisions about how to drive more loyalty. But to reiterate, they spend 33% more, which is why we think you should be marketing to them over continually investing in top of the funnel, which is important. You need to really, keep the efforts on this end of the spectrum as well. And then referrals. Word of mouth marketing is something we hear from local business owners a lot. Like, I have that covered, which may be fine, but in 2016, there's sort of like a digital word of mouth that's important. And these drive your referrals. To draw back to the relationship theme, you want to know, if you know the person giving you the referral for the business, you're way more likely to spend your money there. And here are stats that show just that. It makes sense. I mean, that it's 65% of businesses, and that 83% of customers say that they prefer friends and family following a positive experience. And then the last bullet, lifetime value for these people are 16 times higher than other customers. So a lot of stats here, and hopefully I didn't go too fast in explaining kind of the playbook for 2016. But just to reiterate, I think it's important to make sure you get the feedback from your customers. And in this case, if you were dating somebody, you would want to know, like, hey, what am I doing wrong here? You have to open that dialogue up to make sure you know how you're engaging with your prospects. And when you know who your positive prospects are, you want to get feedback so you can get the testimonials and the reviews. You also want to make sure you're driving those people back in the door. And then this last piece here, which is the referrals, getting those happy customers to refer friends back to your business. So that's sort of the playbook on the retention strategy for hopefully managing a very healthy relationship with those that you've acquired via WordStream and other paid acquisition channels. But that's it. That's all I had from my side. So now I guess we can open up to a question and answer session.
Great. Thanks so much, Andrea. That was awesome. So first question I have, this one will be directed towards Erin. If you could go back to the basics and kind of give a high-level overview of what PPC is.
Yeah, absolutely. So PPC stands for pay-per-click marketing. It's also referred to as paid search. And essentially, every time someone does a search on the Google search engine results or the Bing pages, anytime someone uses either of those engines, you'll see a series of ads at the top of the page as well as at the bottom of the page. And those ads that are served on the Google search are called pay-per-click ads. You can use AdWords to help you place ads in those areas, and you're only charged if someone clicks on those ads. So we can go into way more depth if it would be helpful, but that's kind of a general overview of what PPC is.
Cool. Next up, when you make specific ads, do you have to do more? So, for example, when you showed the Zappos ad on the size 9 shoe, do they have to do an ad for every type of shoe they have in every single size?
Mm-hmm. So I think, the more specific you are, the better. And the best way to show really, really specific, relevant ad copy is to create very, very tight-knit ad groups. So the keyword groupings within your ad groups revolve around one very specific subject, like, for example, leather shoes. And then the ad has leather shoes, so it's very, very specific. For those of you who are just starting with paid search, I think the temptation is to start super broad. I would not recommend that. You really want to set things up from a granular approach from the get-go. You can always break it out further, but yeah, you do want to use a lot of ad groups so you can serve super, super specific ad copy.
Great, thanks, Erin. Now, Andrew, I think this one will be directed towards you. So could you go into a little, kind of like Erin did with PPC, a high-level overview of what MIA exactly is?
Sure. So the one-liner for what MIA is artificial intelligence that manages your customer relationships. She's basically aggregating data on, as I mentioned, 20 million US consumers, and that information informs the information she has on your consumers, your prospects. So with that, we have machine learning in the background, which allows her to have very specific one-to-one communication without your involvement to drive new customers' reviews and loyalty. So hopefully that's high enough level. In particular, she's doing this via email and SMS. So she'll send email communication out to prospects and new customers who may not have purchased yet because she knows, again, who has or has not purchased and how frequently she should be getting them back in the door.
Great, thanks so much. This one will probably be directed towards you as well. So what have you found to be the best way to aggregate emails that you use in campaigns? And do you have thoughts on the style, and basically essentially cold emailing a prospect?
Sure. So that's a great question. But the best part about me, and I wish I had this, so I'm a B2B marketer now, and I have been for the last 10 years. I wish we had MIA for the B2B level. We use Marketo on our side because the types of communication are different than a business with consumers who have a local presence. MIA, she aggregates all the customer data for you. So anytime a customer or prospect calls or emails your business, she automatically pushes that into the CRM. So you have to literally do nothing. You don't need forms on your pages. You don't need these crazy to set up these crazy drip campaigns or anything like this. And honestly, like this would be a godsend for me because I have one full-time person doing this. But the minute someone calls, emails, or transacts with the business, she gathers that data and creates a perfect customer record. Then she thinks about who that customer is and the type of interaction she had with your business to drive those new customers, reviews, and referrals. And there are emails and texts that go out to your prospects from her that allow those things to happen. So aggregating customer data, if I had a bot to do it like MIA, I would go that route. Otherwise, you probably need a form or something like that.
Okay. So can emails be acquired through the Facebook social platform?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so with Facebook, you can determine exactly what you want to consider a conversion. You can drive people to whatever landing page you wish, and that's going to be dependent on your business and your business needs. So for us here at WordStream, right, we're working with a longer sales process. We spend a lot of time talking to our prospects, kind of walking them through the tool before purchasing. So for us on Facebook, our sole goal is to convince people to engage with us and give us their email address so we can kind of kick off that relationship. For other businesses who don't have a similar business model, who maybe have very, very cheap products, so for example, selling pencils or rulers, something that only costs a few dollars, you probably don't want to collect email addresses. You are probably looking more for a direct sale, which you can also promote on Facebook, or with paid search again. So I think the key is identifying the call to action that you want to use, and then you can absolutely promote that particular call to action within your ad copy.
Can I just add one note there? If you're doing Facebook advertising, the customers that we have that are doing Facebook advertising, if you're using lead form, which is an option on Facebook, and you're collecting the email from like a new customer offer, Mia will grab that lead record and put it in the CRM and then begin marketing to them. Obviously, there's some permissions, but as with any email platform, but that's basically how you can make the most out of your new customer that you may have acquired via Facebook.
Very cool.
So I think we have time for 2 more questions. So can you do remarketing on Facebook, or is it just available in Google?
Nope, you can absolutely do remarketing on Facebook. I'm sure many of you guys, when you think back to your Facebook feed, some of the ads you can see, you've definitely been remarketed to. I actually had a great one the other day that I thought was a really nice kind of subtle way to engage with me. So I was planning a trip to Panama. I was doing a lot of research on the Zika virus because I was obviously a little bit nervous about that. And I had spent some time on a DEET website. I was going to buy some bug spray online, and I didn't actually follow through with the purchase. They ran Facebook remarketing, so the next time I was on my Facebook feed, I started getting these really actually beautiful ads that were of island vacations, and said something like protect yourself on your next island vacation with DEET. And it was just the perfect way to connect with me. Now, I wasn't in a shopping mode necessarily. I wasn't looking for DEET at the time, but it just kind of re-engaged me, got back in my head, reminded me that this was something that I had intended to make a purchase on, and I actually clicked on the ad and followed through. So Facebook remarketing very much exists. It's something that we can help you with here at WordStream. We have a platform that will essentially help you set up those ads and remarket to the right people. But it's something that's, I think, just as powerful and oftentimes cheaper than remarketing on the Google Display Network. Both great options.
Great. So kind of a follow-up to that, I know you say both are good options, but is Facebook or AdWords the best option for a B2B advertiser to use to find new prospects?
You know, it's funny you ask that because I think very much, or oftentimes, people see this huge distinction between B2B and B2C. And so they're like, oh, there's no way, you know, I'm B2B, I definitely don't want to be on Facebook. Facebook is something people do in their free time. I'm selling, I don't know, software for them to use at work. They would never want to see my ad on Facebook. I think that is absolutely the wrong attitude to have. Ultimately, nowadays, you're advertising to people. People don't shut off their kind of business mind when they're using Facebook. I personally use Facebook during the day at work. I think many of us, even if we're kind of using it in our leisure time, we always have work kind of in the back of our mind, and those ads will still resonate with us. So I wouldn't look at the distinction as, are you B2B or B2C? I would look at it more, you know, what is the type of people you want to connect with? Do you have a strong presence online already? Are you using remarketing? You know, you want to look at the different components of each of these platforms and make the best decision for your business. And ultimately, if you can afford to do it, I recommend using both simultaneously. That's definitely going to be the strongest approach. Maybe it's not hitting as many people. Maybe you're using them both in a more targeted fashion, but using both is definitely a good route to go.
I can actually just probably share some stats too. I mean, we use, and we're a B2B business. We sell to local businesses that have consumers, but we're still B2B. Facebook converts for us 50% as well as AdWords, and that's because we push our ads on Facebook. So we get a lot more leads at cheaper on Facebook, but AdWords works better for us because it's intent and it's search. So
right.
We would have a $20 CPL on Facebook. We would have a $40 CPL on AdWords. They just convert at different rates. It just determines, you know, it just depends on also like what you want, volume, or do you want deals? In our case, we want deals. So we do both, but we primarily rely on AdWords.
Right, and part of the thing is you're filling your funnel with Facebook, and then those people are aware that you exist and coming to AdWords and looking for things that you offer. Right. So they kind of work really closely hand in hand.
Great. Thanks both Erin and Andrea. So that concludes today's webinar. I want to thank everyone for your time and definitely encourage you to reach out to WordStream, to Signpost, Erin and Andrea specifically. If you have any questions, you can connect with them on Twitter. if you want to discuss anything covered today in more detail, they're happy to answer any additional questions. Erin and Andrea, thank you both for your time today. I know you both are very busy, so I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to hop on this webinar. And just a side note, that the recording and slides will be distributed via email later on this afternoon, so be on the lookout for those as well. Thanks so much, everyone, and have a great day.